welcome to New Holland podcast, and I'm very happy to have you here, Marty Chamberland. I would like you to introduce yourself to the listeners and the viewers, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about your history and how do you get there where you are.
Certainly. So my name's Marty Chamberlain. I'm the Chief Growth Officer for Nature's Net Wrap. I had a 34-year career with New Holland, and I had some friends that had the co-founders actually of Nature's Net Wrap that I had introduced to CNH about 5 years ago. Asked me to come and work with them to help promote the product. So that's how I ended up at Nature's Net Wrap.
I have your product here in my hands, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about your product and especially what inspired you to start Nature's Net Wrap.
So what inspired actually one of the co-founders, Austin Rood, who's the son of Larry Rood. It's a father-son combination from Western Canada and just south of Vermilion, Alberta in the west. Austin was busy feeding his cattle and was getting tired of having to deal with the plastic net wrap that was on all the hay bales and the straw bales that he was dealing with. So he figured there had to be a better way. So he basically started his quest to find a way to come up with a compostable net wrap that you could actually leave out in the field. And over the course of 2 or 3 years after the net is off the bale, that the net in the fields and the pastures would eventually biodegrade by itself and compost into the soil, never to be seen again.
Yeah.
So they did find, after a few years, the right material. They found a way to get the net produced, and the net has the same performance characteristics from a strength standpoint. Yeah, it's
okay. Wow, I did not know that that is really strong. I can't even get it damaged.
Yeah. That was one of the requirements that he wanted to make sure that it was strong enough to begin with when you put it on the bale, that it would maintain and at least match and exceed potentially the performance of any of the other net wraps that are there. But it needed to make sure that it would be compostable and eventually disappear.
Yeah.
It has to get into the soil for it to break down. So it's made out of plant-based biopolymers. So think cornstarches that you can make biopolymers from to make plastic.
Yeah.
So those polymers, they had to find the right blend of those polymers specifically to maintain the strength, but also to find the right mix that the plant or the soil microbiome, the bacteria, and the organisms in the soil would consume. So it doesn't degrade very fast just when you put it in the soil. It takes 2 to 3 years before it breaks down.
Yeah.
But to accelerate that in a composting situation, you can accelerate that anywhere from 6 months in a manure pile.
Okay, wow.
Or even into an industrial composting situation where we actually have a global certification with BPI that shows that we've actually the material would be eliminated in 12 weeks.
In 12 weeks, wow.
In industrial composting situations. So think 58 degrees Celsius with the right amount of oxygen, the material's getting agitated.
Yeah.
So at that point, it breaks down into carbon dioxide and water. There's no microplastics left at the end of that process with our material.
That's not even comparable to plastic nets. How long do regular plastic nets stay in the ground if you throw it in soil? I know you shouldn't do that, but just for example.
So plastic net wrap's probably been around for about 70 years. And none of that plastic breaks down because it's made out of polyethylene.
Yes.
And there is nothing. In fact, even here at the show today, there was a couple of customers that are quite young. They said, "Yeah, I'm still pulling out net wrap and plastic twine that my grandfather used on their farm." So that's kind of the same story we have in North America as well. Those materials will be here probably for hundreds of years before they even start to decompose.
Wow.
And when they do, you end up with microplastics. They never break down.
Yes, you consume them as well.
Correct. So that's one of the biggest benefits is once you're done using it on the bales, it's a single use and like every other plastic net wrap. But once you're done with it, you can get rid of it on the farm without having to pay any disposal fees or anything like that because you're getting rid of it on your farm.
Yeah, and if I think about how many hundreds of thousand bales or millions of bales are
Millions.
pressed every year, I don't know if there are any numbers, but I think it's hard to count all the bales are made every year. But if you compare this and the amount of plastic waste, and it's it's
It's a problem.
enormous, yes,
It's an enormous
and
problem.
that's the thing where you thought, oh, we have to do something. The moment you realized,
That's where Austin realized that we got to do something different. So
yeah,
I give Austin a lot of credit. I mean, the company, he's been working on this for a little over 9 years.
9 years, okay.
And to end up with a commercial product now in that time frame, we're already selling in the North American market for 2 years
Oh,
already.
okay. That was my next question. If it's in the market already, so you say for 2 years now you have it in America for American farmers
Correct.
in the balers.
And the acceptance of the product has been very interesting to see the uptake on it because again, farmers are. I'm a farmer. I mean, we have cattle at our farm back in Alberta,
Yeah.
and people want to see it work. They want to trust that it
Yes.
does what it
Yes.
does. So yes, it's extremely strong.
Yes.
Yeah. So what we did is customers will want to try our rolls. A year ago, they tried a roll
Yeah.
and they come back this year and all of a sudden they're buying 10, 20, 30 rolls because they realize that, okay, it does exactly what they said in terms of disappearing on the farm in the manure pack after we've used it. So
Yeah.
they're very encouraged and they're some of our best advocates.
Yeah. Perfect. So how easy is it for farmers to switch from traditional to this one? Is it plug and play?
It's pretty much plug and play. That was one of the design parameters that Austin had worked on, is that we needed to make sure that it would fit into everybody's balers without having to do any major modifications to the baler itself.
Yeah.
Today, if you're changing from one supplier to the other or different source countries or whatever the situation is,
Yeah.
there's probably some settings and some adjustments that are going to have to be made with the balers, be it on adjusting the tension or the pull strength or the braking mechanisms on the
Yeah.
balers. So every competitive baler that we've worked with, we've been able to get the product to run. There might have been some minor adjustments that had to
Yeah, but
be
I think
completed.
as you say, at traditional nets, you also have to do adjustments on the baler. So yeah, so let's. You say you're on the market since 2 years, and yeah, I think there was a big progress before, and I think there are also many tests and trials. And I could imagine that you are work with farmers together to test it, and you want to have feedback from the farmers like this. And I think this is the point where you recognize, okay, this could be a very big thing for the next, especially we in times where we are talking about sustainability.
Absolutely. So as the product was being developed, we wanted to make sure that the experience the customers was getting was exactly what they wanted. They wanted to eliminate the problem that they had with plastic in their fields, wrapping around their equipment, wrapping around the bearings, which adds extra costs and maintenance. And these are the things that we were paying very close attention to, working with these customers specifically over the last 4 years, as we had a commercial product that was ready to take to market. The feedback was actually very positive after they did the initial testing.
Mm.
And a lot of those customers that did the initial testing are using the product today. The interesting part that happened is a lot of our customers have been using sisal twine to wrap their bales,
Yeah.
because they absolutely did not want to have plastic in their fields and in their corrals around their animals, because there's some health concerns with that as well. So when some of those customers that have been putting just sisal twine, for them, this is actually a pretty huge savings for them, because they get the benefits of the compostability with our product.
Mm.
So they're not getting the plastic buildup in their fields, but they were also able to gain the speed of making bales compared to how they've made them traditionally with a twine wrap.
Okay, that's another point.
So they become a lot more efficient. So to give you an example on the cost, because the cost is always the one that
Would be
comes
my
in.
next question. You are a very nice talking guest, because yeah, you do it yourself. Perfect. Tell us about this point.
So from a cost perspective, before we get to that, one of the questions that comes in is, how many wraps do I need to put on my baler or on my bales? And our recommendation is start with what you've been using before.
Yeah.
Because you know it works the way it should. Try with that first. But usually what happens from the cost perspective is, for instance, on a hay bale. A hay bale, the cost of the net itself really only ends up representing on average about 2% of the cost of the bale. There's the cost of making the bale, the cost for the diesel, the cost for the equipment, the cost
Yes.
for the plants themselves. The net is only the plastic net is usually only about 2% of the cost.
Okay, so it's not that big point in this.
Again, it depends on that's on average.
Of course, average.
Our cost compared to the 2% would be about 3%. So 1% more. You take the cost of sisal twine into consideration, there the cost of using sisal twine is actually 5%. So we're cheaper than sisal because they want the organic, they don't want the no plastic solution, but they don't have the efficiencies on the speed, whereas now they have an ability to go and get that benefit, get the benefits of speed and become more efficient in their operation using a net wrap baler, but they get the compostability, the benefits of something that decomposes and composts in their yard and is completely gone, which is what they have from there.
Yes, so you don't only have the return of invest, you also have the sustainability. And I think, agriculture has to change in this, and I think there is a big change.
Yes.
I feel it. It's a big change. If you go through the fair, you see clean energy, sustainability is a big topic these days, and I think this is exactly a product who helps. Especially, I talked about the 100,000 and millions of bales are made every year in worldwide, and
To talk about the cost again for a minute.
yes,
On average in the U.S., we're seeing that the average cost is about $1 to $1.50 more per bale. So about a euro and a half more per bale.
yeah,
So when you take that into context of what the downstream costs are of the plastic that you're eliminating, the dollar or the 1 or 2 euros or dollars per bale more is actually a pretty good investment
yeah,
for what you're not going to have to deal with later on.
of course. So, how are you plan to go on with? You said you are launched in 2 years ago in the US. How is the state in Europe? How is it in Europe?
Okay.
I think with New Holland you have a good partner to.
Absolutely. They were very, very happy to have something brought to them from a sustainability standpoint, because that's very important. It was something that they could be first on the market with, which was important. But the other benefit is that they do have a global reach, and having their parts organization be able to distribute the product was
Yes.
something that the co-founders at Nature's Net Wrap thought would be something that would be pretty important.
Yes.
So we've been distributing it in the U.S. If customers want to buy a roll, they can order it from their local dealer and have it one roll delivered to their local dealer for them to try. They didn't have to buy an entire pallet.
Okay.
So it makes the adoption rate easier, because farmers like to try it first before to make sure it works, so I don't have to have
And
any
before
issues
there's
later.
money spent.
Exactly. And if there's problems, they should call us to
Yes.
find out if there's any adjustments they need to do to their balers and everything else.
Yes. So I always have this obvious question: how, or where did you see NetWrap in 5 or 10 years? And I think you also already mentioned that that you increased the amount of rolled net rolls that you sell in Europe, and yeah, as I said, balers are getting smarter as well. So I think maybe the adjustment part will be not the problem
It
in the
shouldn't be a
future.
problem,
Yes.
but like anything else, there's a huge population of balers that are out there today that aren't the new ones, and those balers are still out there. We're doing the job that they were designed for originally.
Yes.
So as any piece of equipment ages, there may be some adjustments that need to be done just as a regular course of business. So they may need, and that's where sometimes you may need to make those adjustments, even if you don't
Of
use our
course.
net wrap. It doesn't matter what kind you're using.
Of course.
So again, if customers are maintaining their equipment and making the proper adjustments to get what they need to do, then it works out pretty well.
Yeah. It's an awesome product. We have to get it worldwide, and maybe I have to come to Canada as an influencer to talk about this and show the use case in real life on the fields, because I'm a practical guy. So let's do it together.
So grab 4.
4, okay. No, I cut my fingers.
That's equivalent to 4 wraps.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's pretty strong. Really, you can't really beat that from that standpoint. So I have a sample of what the 6-month, what it looks like after it comes out of a manure pile in 6
okay.
months. So you saw how strong this was.
Yeah.
So Yes, it's going to smell a little bit like manure in here because it did come out of this.
I like it. I like that kind of smell. I grew on a farm, so that's not the problem.
Okay, so you can see that this is actually the product after.
Yeah.
So you can see that the matrix,
Wow.
the
Okay.
matrix is pretty much done on this.
Yeah.
So there's nothing really, there's really no tensile strength left in there whatsoever.
Yeah, it is for the listeners. They have no picture. It is a little bit like you have grass.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
plant. You can.
But you can see there's no strength left to it at
No.
all. I mean, these some of the longer strands are going to take a little bit longer to break down, but the connecting pieces are all coming apart.
Wow.
And that's after 6 months
6 months.
on a manure pile.
Wow. And if I compare it to traditional, where you talk about 7 years and the microplastic lasts forever.
7 years, actually, the plastic doesn't degrade at all. None of the plastic nets, the plastic twines maintain their strength, like the day they went in.
I'm very impressed, and I think this is a great solution and a big step in sustainability in agriculture. So Marty, it was a pleasure to have you here, and I'm very thankful for showing me that you show me this product. I'm still impressed. Maybe I have to end this podcast so we can play a little bit with these plants, like the rest of the material.
Yeah.
Marty, thanks for having you here.
Thank
it was
you,
a pleasure for me, and maybe we can see in Canada to have it.
That would be
in
great.
real life.
We'd love it.
Thank
you. Thank you for your time.